All right, jumping on to do a quick segment on something I need to talk about before we take off on our flight back to Austin from Nashville after that wild debate. We're sitting here in the hallway of an airport and people are walking by, so this is a little bit awkward, but here we go. Let's talk about one of the most disgraceful press conferences from any press secretary in the history of the country, in all honesty, and that's here Karoline Leavitt addressing the comments that Pete Hegseth made that were pretty obviously reprimanding the media for reporting prominently on American lives being lost in Trump's war against Iran. So watch, she'll get really heated against Caitlin Collins for just bringing up that Hegseth, and I'll show you the clip in a second, did indeed reprimand the media for prominently reporting on American lives being lost and acted like that was fake news, trying to smear Trump. It's disgusting. Look at this.
Who are willing to sacrifice their own lives for the rest of us in this room and for every American across the country and for every troop that is based in the Middle East. That's what these...
Hegseth was complaining that it was front page news about these 6 service members who were killed.
That's not what the secretary said, Caitlin, and that's not what the secretary meant, and you know it. You know you are being
So listen as she says this. She does a whole performance. Oh, you're being disingenuous. You're CNN, you're fake news. That's not what he said. I'm not going to show you the clip.
And you know it. You know you are being disingenuous. There is not... We've never had a Secretary of Defense who cares more...
Drones get through or tragic things happen. It's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad. Yeah, as you know, we cover the deaths of U.S. service members under every president.
The press does only want to make the president look bad. That's a fact. Especially you. No, listen to me. Especially you and especially CNN. And the Secretary of Defense cares deeply about our war fighters and our men and women in uniform. He travels all across this country to meet with them, to connect with them, and your network has hardly ever probably reported on that.
So this is professional grade grandstanding and distracting from a comment that she knows is indefensible as Trump saying that's the way it is and there's going to be more about American lives being lost. And she, instead of engaging with the substance, Caitlin Collins has the quote, she just lashes out. And whenever you have to rely on personal attacks instead of actually engaging with what is being said, then you know that you're in the wrong. Here's the quote. I mean, Caitlin Collins read it, but I'll show you the video. It's on video.
This is what the fake news misses. We've taken control of Iran's airspace and waterways without boots on the ground.
If you appreciate us recording a little segment here in the airport, please do click the subscribe button. We're doing what we can, even while we travel, to get you content. Click that subscribe button if you appreciate it. Back to the video.
We control their fate. But when a few drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad, but try for once to report the reality. The terms of this war will be set by us at every step.
So it's weird that that's the point he's trying to get at, because it's like, yeah, obviously that no one's denying that our military is incredibly powerful. No one's denying that, obviously. So you would think you'd be able to set the terms of the war. That doesn't mean that the consequences of it, when we don't have credible evidence of an imminent threat, won't be so catastrophic, the human toll, both for civilians and for specifically American soldiers, American heroes, that it's not a worthwhile objective to put American lives and civilian lives at risk like this based on a faulty premise. So that point is kind of just like a side. We can set that aside. But the core part that people are outraged about for good reason is him saying, when a few drones, he's referencing the attack on a U.S. base that caused now up to 6 American lives and may be increasing to pass. And he's saying that becomes front page news when a little accident, although some drones get through. It's disgusting. And then for Karoline Leavitt to deny that, and she goes on and on and on and back and forth, is equally disgusting. And this is the problem too. I just had a long debate with Michael Knowles, audience members at this right-wing event, Dan Crenshaw, and when they engage with why they believe we should have entered this war, you go, okay, I disagree with the factual claims you're making about what threats there were, the nuclear program, etc. We've gone through that before. But also, for me, I have to be honest, there's an extra level of skepticism because I don't trust the people, the leaders at the top, making these decisions. And the more phrases we get like that from Hegseth, from Trump, that's the way it is, from Leavitt, it just reaffirms that believe. Here's more.
That the president is going to attend the dignified transfer for these families. Given what Secretary Hegseth said this morning, is it the position of this administration that the press should not prominently cover the deaths of U.S. service members?
No, it's the position of this administration that the press in this room and the press across the country should accurately report on the success of Operation Epic Fury and the damage it is doing to the rogue Iranian regime that has threatened the lives of every single American in this room. If the Iranian regime had their choice, they would kill every single person in this room. And so we can all be very grateful that we have an administration and that we have men and women in our armed forces who are willing to sacrifice their own lives for the rest of us in this room and for every American across the country and for every troop that is based in the Middle East. That's what these...
Secretary Hegseth was complaining that it was front page news about these 6 service members who were killed.
That's not what the secretary said, Caitlin, and that's not what the secretary meant, and you know it. You know...
Okay, so then it goes on to the clip as we have someone photobombing. Weird. That goes on to the part that we already saw. And so there's a few, I think you get the point on that. So let's move to different aspects of this same press conference. It just disturbs me. It really does. You'd think, number one, okay, there's 2 factors. Point 1 is we're all getting a little sick and tired of you acting like we don't care about the troops, or we're not patriotic, or we don't want America to be successful because we've learned from history about how these sorts of regime change wars can be so catastrophic. And our heart thumping with deep and profound love and care for American troops is a part of the thing that informs our opposition, is we don't want needless American deaths. So that's point 1. And then point 2 is from the people accusing us of not being pro the troops enough, when actually it's the fact that we're so pro troops that we're so concerned with this and civilian life and stabilization in general in the region. Apologies. From those same people levying that allegation to then be making such callous remarks about American deaths and upset that they're being covered prominently is sick. Then you have this doozy of a quote.
The president had a feeling, again, based on fact, that Iran was going to strike the United States, was going to strike our assets in the region, and he made a determination to launch Operation Epic Fury based on all of those reasons. And
okay, the quote at hand there you can see here. The president had a feeling, based on fact, he had a feeling that there were facts. Did he have the facts themselves? But he had a feeling that he was going off of. Then you have this.
At the top of the briefing, you listed a long list of grievances against the Iranian government, going back to the takeover of the embassy in '79, barracks bombing in the '80s, etc. But no one from the administration has laid out the imminent threat that was supposed to be taken care of by this. And the rationales offered by, say, Secretary Rubio, the president's national security advisor, said that the threat was retaliation against American interests from Iran after Israeli strikes. The president says it was his own feeling that Iran was going to attack. Why is it that across the administration you can't say what the imminent threat against the United States?
So it's a brilliant question, because a lot of the justification has been they've been an imminent threat for decades. And you're like, those 2 phrases contradict themselves. An imminent threat, imminent, and for decades. But you can't pinpoint what exactly justifies unilaterally going to war.
It was that required us to launch this. And also, Prime Minister Starmer told Parliament today that his reason that he didn't allow the use of British bases was that he was not satisfied that there was a lawful basis and a viable, thought-through plan. Was there an attempt to provide the UK government with a legal basis for these strikes and a viable, thought-through plan?
To the first question, I completely reject the premise of your question. You have had the President of the United States, the Secretary of War, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the Vice President of the United States, the Secretary of State, and now I am out here today to explain to you exactly what led the President to make the decision to launch Operation Epic Fury. And President Trump does not make these decisions in a vacuum. This decision to launch this operation was based on a cumulative effect of various direct threats threats that Iran posed to the United States of America, and the president's feeling based on fact that Iran does pose an imminent
So I didn't realize that quote is embedded in this longer clip.
direct threat to the United States of America, based on the fact that they are the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, based on the fact that they were rapidly and aggressively building up their ballistic missile program to give.
Okay, so we get it. You can see her even stuttering through that explanation. We've seen the intelligence reports that contradict these claims. Yes, the Iranian regime is up to all sorts of no good, but if we've learned anything, it's that just trying to go in and bomb our way to a better regime that has less harmful intentions often doesn't work, especially when you don't have a coherent plan, which that's been clear. When Trump gets asked, he's sort of like, I don't know, we'll see. We were going to pick this guy to be the next leader, but then we killed him, so I don't really know. There's not a coherent plan. That adds to the skepticism and opposition, and it's all just very murky what's going on. And through historical examples, we can understand that without such a plan, the idea that you drop some big bombs, launch some powerful missiles, and then blink, and that makes the regime more friendly to you, often it's the reverse. And that is rooted in deep, deep patriotism, love for our country, love for our troops, and caution about when we risk their lives, much to the contrary of the message the White House is delivering. If you appreciate us recording this video as people are literally trying to interfere with it, crazy, make sure that you've clicked the subscribe button and let me know what you think in the comments. Now we fly home.